I want to talk about the difference between ask and guess culture, and I made this graphic to explain the first time I became aware of it. My boyfriend at the time had come home from a college lecture, and for some reason, he had taken an entire box of granola bars with him to class. And as he's sitting there chowing down on granola, he's telling the guy next to him how many granola bars he has. And that guy was like, "Can I have a granola bar?" And he said, "Absolutely," and gave him a granola bar. Then the girl on the other side of him starts talking about how she's also hungry. She's dropping hints, saying her stomach might be growling, and instead of offering her the granola bar, he was like, "Oh, that sucks, and I hope you feel better soon." He came home and told me this story, and I was like, "Why did you not offer her a granola bar? She was clearly wanting a granola bar." And he's like, "No, if she wanted a granola bar, she would have asked me for a granola bar." The concept of askers versus guessers is that there's a cultural divide on our expectations of asking for a favor. How do we communicate with another person that we want something from them without being rude? This can be different culture to culture or family to family, even person to person inside a family. Very simply put, askers believe that you should ask for things directly, and guessers believe that you should drop hints and the other person will offer it if they want to. The concept of askers or guessers actually comes from a very odd place. This had been a posting on a web blog question and answer type thing called Ask MetaLife. In 2007, somebody made this post complaining about their wife's presumptuous friend. The wife's friend had sent this email saying that she was going to be in New York City where they live and asked if there was a chance that she could stay with them while she was in town. And when he wrote about it, he was like, "I don't even know this woman. I've never spoken with her. My wife doesn't even like her." And then he says further, "It really annoys me when people just invite themselves over or present the possibility of you accommodating them. This is something I strive never to do. If anything, I might test the waters by mentioning I'll be in town and see if an offer comes my way." Because this guy is a guesser, and the person writing the email is an asker. And this comment reply talking about ask culture versus guess culture went viral. This comment was made in 2007. There have been articles mentioning it as recently as 2022. And because of the differences in communication styles between askers and guessers, it can cause problems. I tried to break down the differences as simply as I could. Askers believe that if you want something, you should ask for it directly as long as you're willing to take no for an answer. Guessers believe that asking directly is presumptuous or even comes with an expectation of a yes. And that's because in guess culture, it's uncomfortable or even rude to say no. And so for them, if the answer is possibly no, it's best to not even ask the question because you risk putting the other person in a position where they have to be rude. But for askers, it's not rude to say no. In fact, it would be rude not to take no for an answer. And in some cases, it seems like the guessers will assume that the askers will keep asking even if they say no. Guessers believe in mentioning things in passing, dropping hints, putting out feelers. They believe the other person will offer if the answer is yes. And this is very contradictory to askers who believe that it can be uncomfortable or rude to offer if you weren't asked. Whereas guessers actually find this to be polite to do if the other party has mentioned it first. But this is definitely way more of a spectrum than a binary. Like, I definitely lean toward the asking side, but I also can accommodate a guesser. And even situationally, it can change. For example, if you want a raise from your boss and you go in his office and you're like, "Wow, I sure could use some more money," in the vast majority of circumstances, that will not get you a raise. But if your neighbor is having a really fun party and the food smells really good, but you don't really know them that well, maybe you're like, "Wow, you guys sound like you're having a really good time over there. That food smells incredible. I hope you have a great time." Many people would see that as way less rude than actually directly asking to be invited to somebody else's party. Learning about this changed my perspective and the way that I interact with people so much. And once you're aware of this, it's so easy to spot it in the wild. So where do y'all fall on the asker versus guesser line? And is your family the same as you? Because I'm more of an asker and my family is almost all guessers. I also noticed that my interactions in the DC area were more guesser interactions, and when I went to Texas, it was more asker interactions. This is all anecdotal, but it is fascinating, so I would love to hear your experiences with this. Have you gone to a specific area where you found it was more one than the other? Love you guys, drink water, bye!